Who? Oh yes, bedroom blogger. Welcome to One-to-One with Simon Jordan. As always, don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. Keep sending the questions into the comment sections below. But let's get on with this week's show. Oh yes, bedroom blogger. Don't have any opinions on his opinions. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. He's actually right. I saw something the other day that someone retweeted about something about the fact that Crystal Palace was a Vauxhall and Man United was a Ferrari. Absolutely right. I can't compare Man City calling them Red Bull and a Man United Ferrari and expect that Palace could be in the same bracket. Of course, absolutely right. As far as the fellows of football opinions, I don't follow him, so I really don't know. How would I treat him? Given the fact that Daniel operates in a way which almost looks like never complain, never explain, if you got him into a studio, which, by the way, I will do, I would take the opportunity to make sure that Daniel was asked all the questions that he should be asked, given the circumstances that he exists in, and that is running a football club that has been commercially very well run, but success-wise, in terms of winning things, has not. Getting him to talk about the reasons why he's made the decisions he's made, his reaction to the circumstances he finds himself in, with a proportion of the fan base not wanting him there anymore. But I'm not a Daniel Levy apologist. What I am is a balanced person. Of course, if you've been an owner, you're going to have a view that steers towards owners and understanding them. If you haven't, you can't, can you? So I sit there with a view saying, over the years, I have had differences of opinion with Daniel. I've had challenges with him during my time at Crystal Palace, where he tried to use Tottenham's position to nick players like Wayne Routledge and Andrew Johnson and ultimately John Bostock. So there was lots of rancour between myself and him. But I actually have a respect for Daniel, not that I agree with all that he does. I have said on numerous occasions, I believe that Tottenham save a pound to lose a fiver. But because I'm not in this rabid mass of wanting to vilify Daniel Levy, I become an apologist, and it's not binary, it's not one or the other. I have a view that there were two sides to every equation. I did an interview the other day with Tim Sherwood, which I can't quite make head nor tail of because I'm not entirely sure Tim was telling the truth a lot of the time. And it's brought out a reaction in Daniel that he's not particularly happy with Sherwood and some of his observations, and we'll see how that plays out. But I would not feel that because I give balance to a conversation, that I'm an apologist for anybody. I don't sit in a situation where I feel anything other than an objective frame of mind. If I think Daniel Levy's done something wrong, like appointing Nuno Espirito Santo, I'd say it. If I think Daniel Levy is flawed in his thinking for bringing Jose Mourinho in, I'd say it, and I did. If I think Daniel Levy is responsible for some of the decisions, I'll say it, and I have. I also think there has to be balance. If you're going to put one person in the cart, you put them all there. You can't just blame one person for everything, and then when there's a modicum of success, give that success to everybody else. It doesn't feel fair. It doesn't feel equitable. It doesn't feel that there's an element of inherent honesty and authenticity about it. It's just a rabid reaction from people that look to blame people. And it's not because all of a sudden I'm on one island and the players and the managers are over there. But let me tell you something, without one element of malice about it, the very people often that should be on your side when you own and run and fund a football club are often the very people that work against you. And by that I mean the players and the managers, because it's upon them to do their jobs. It's not upon Daniel Levy to turn up in a cup quarter-final against Sheffield United and put out an abject performance when a trophy's on offer, albeit you'd have to overcome Manchester City. So I would give Daniel as strong a going through and going over an interview as I would give anyone else. On a personal level, yeah, I do quite like Daniel. I like a lot of people that people might not find particularly popular. And I do have a respect for some of the things that he says and does. I don't have respect for all of it. And if Daniel Levy said something stupid, I'd be the first person to turn around and say it. And I think writing letters to the fans talking about the DNA of a football club in 2021 is rather stupid, because you get on with the job of putting people in place, because the DNA of a football club probably wouldn't be to have employed Mourinho to play a brand of football that we know he plays, and probably Conte the same. So it's an exercise in nothingness. But no, this nonsense and crap and ridiculous binary observations from certain rabid sections of the Spurs fan base, just because I don't fall into the camp of going, Daniel Levy is the worst thing that God put breath into, that somehow I'm an acolyte or a sycophant or a lickspittle or Daniel Levy's little puppet in the media. I'm none of the above. I'm just pretty fair on my views on most subjects. Sometimes I miss it. Sometimes I may go a little bit over the top, and sometimes I might be a little bit steering into the territory of hyperbole. But normally there's a good grain of truth behind my observations. A bit of both, really. Ten Hag is entirely right to call out the necessity to continue to invest, because the opposition are going to, and the opposition have done a lot of investment that's been well spent. His football club haven't. He has some legacy players in there that need to change. And when I see observations made about my observation last week about Anthony not being a good player, what I said was Anthony is a £19 million worth of crap this season because he hasn't been worth the money that they paid, and maybe Ten Hag should coach them better. And that was the point, never the point that he shouldn't be calling out for investment. If he wanted to have achieved more this season, he might have wanted to make sure that an investment like Anthony at 90 million quid hit the ground like the other fella over at Man City, Erling Haaland, did. Better teams, different levels of expectation. People expected Man City to win the league. They didn't expect Manchester United to win the league. So getting a return of 5 goals in 25 games from Anthony, I don't know, for 90 million quid, I think it is pretty crap. But I do think he's absolutely right. But the challenge about calling for investment, but the challenge is with football, whatever football people, whatever they are, haven't got is the reasons why they're not successful. If they haven't got a huge spend in January, they're not successful. If they didn't get a huge spend in August, then that's the reasons why. If they haven't got a brand new training ground, that's the reasons why. If they haven't got a roof that doesn't leak at Old Trafford, that's the reasons why they're not successful. You know, if they haven't got a masseuse, that's the reasons why. When in the end, it comes down to, in part, that wonderful X factor of the manager lifting and raising the bar and doing better. But managers, within reason, within their gift and remits, suggesting that spend needs to be in keeping with their opponents is not an unreasonable request. If you look at the spend of Man United, with the exception of Chelsea, are we saying that on the 22-23 season, they didn't match their opponents? And is it unreasonable to say that one of their marquee signings that has done not a lot couldn't be called crap in the here and now? Now, if he performs brilliantly next year, that will be an analysis for the past, but it will be relevant in the context of when I said it. So I think Ten Hag has done well. I think he's built a culture back into Man United. I still think he's got a long way to go. If Man United are to regain their position after over a decade now, because it will be over a decade since they've won the Premier League. So with all that in mind, Ten Hag, building a mentality, demanding the best, pushing the envelope, and being accountable for delivering better from his players like his mate does across Manchester, Guardiola, is all part and parcel of the overall gambit of a football team being successful. Well, I mean, crazy is all relative, isn't it? I would say the craziest party was one that I threw a few years ago for a marquee birthday, where I spent crazy amounts of money to celebrate my own birthday for those lucky guests that came. I had Reformed Specials, which were a fabulous band from the 70s and 80s. And so the first gig that they ever did was at my 40th birthday. I got Brian Ferry to sing a song, although he argued relentlessly about singing a particular song. And given the fact I was paying him the best part of 100 grand, he got told to do it. I had Kid Creole and the Coconuts. I had Imagination. I had Curiosity Killed the Cat, all bands from different parts of my life. And a significant list of well-heeled people having a rather decadent time. So I would say that's probably the craziest, not in terms of debaucherous behaviour, but craziness in terms of profligacy on my part, self-indulgence, and a very interesting list of people taking part in my birthday as well as attending. But there are other parties that I've been involved in that I'm no intention of telling you about. Right, that's it for this week's edition of One to One with Simon Jordan. As always, don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. Keep leaving the questions in the comment section below. Don't forget to let me know your views on Ten Hag and his demands for more spend, Daniel Levy and the easy ride he gets in the media, and anything else you've picked up from this video. And I look forward to seeing you next week.